Someone is coming back, not drifting back the way people sometimes drift back into each other's lives through coincidence or proximity or the simple unexamined inertia of unfinished connection. Coming back deliberately with a reason that they have been sitting with long enough that the sitting has become insufficient and the doing something about it has become necessary. That reason is what this reading is about. Not just the fact of the return, the why of it, the specific, honest, took me longer than it should have, why that has brought this person to the decision to re enter your life and to re enter it with the particular intentionality of someone who has done enough thinking to know exactly what they are returning for. Before we go further, let me say something plain. Returns are complicated. They carry history. They arrive into a present that has been shaped by an absence, that itself was shaped by whatever produced the leaving or the drifting or the distance in the first place. A return is not a reset. It is not a return to the beginning. It is a continuation of a story that has more chapters than either of you have yet read, with both people changed by the time and the experience of the interval. The changed versions of both of you are what is meeting not the people you were before, the people you have become since. And understanding that distinction is the most important thing I can offer you before we go into what the cards are showing me about why this particular person is returning and what they are bringing with them. Drop the word revelation in the comments right now and subscribe to this channel, because what they are bringing, the specific, worked through, finally honest reason for the return, is revelatory in the exact sense of that word. It reveals something about them, about what they have been carrying, about what existed between you that neither of you fully understood when you were in it, and about what becomes possible now that the understanding has arrived. Let me start with the interval, the time between what happened in it that made this return necessary. They lived without you. That sounds simple. It is not simple. Living without someone who has occupied a specific and significant place in your interior life is a daily, concrete, ongoing experience of that person's absence. Not the abstract awareness of missing the practical. This is what my life feels like without this person, reality of each day that does not contain them in the way they were previously contained. Some days were fine. Some days the absence was a background thing, present but not pressing, something that could be placed alongside the other contents of the day without requiring particular attention. Those days existed and they were real, and this person lived them without particular difficulty. Other days were different. The days when something happened that they would have immediately, instinctively wanted to share with you. The days when a conversation fell short of something they have come to expect from conversation because the standard for what conversation can be was set in significant part by you. The days when the specific quality of your presence, the warmth of it, the intelligence of it, the particular ease of being with someone who knows you in the specific way you knew them was most conspicuous by its absence. Those days accumulated, not dramatically, quietly, with the specific one at a time quality of a case being built not through argument but through evidence, the evidence of daily experience, the evidence of a life that has a specific and noticeable quality without you in it, and a different, better, more fully inhabited quality with you in it, the evidence became conclusive. At some point through the accumulation of the fine days and the different days and everything in between, the evidence reached the threshold where ignoring it was no longer a reasonable option, where the honest answer to the question of what the interval had taught them was undeniable. It had taught them what you are to them, what your presence actually contributes, what the specific, irreplaceable quality of you in their life does for the specific, irreplaceable quality of their life. The interval taught them your value in the only way that completely convincing lesson can be learned, through the direct, unmediated experience of your absence. Now let me tell you the revelation. The specific thing they have come to understand that is the reason for the return, the why. They misread something. In the time before, the distance and the period that preceded whatever created the gap between you, they misread something important. Not about you necessarily, about themselves, about what they wanted and what they were ready for and what the specific thing developing between you was asking of them. In the moment of the misreading, the misread version felt true. That is the nature of misreadings. They do not announce themselves as errors. They present as assessments. As the clear-eyed, I have looked at this honestly conclusions of a person who is being reasonable and acting on them feels like acting reasonably rather than like making a mistake that will require returning from. What they misread was the size of their own feeling. They underestimated it. In the specific, this is manageable, this does not require anything dramatic way of someone who is more comfortable with smaller feelings than with the actual size of what was developing, who looked at what they felt and assigned it a category and a corresponding level of significance that was below its actual category and its actual level of significance. And then they went and lived in the gap. And the living in the gap performed the correction, because living in the absence of the underestimated thing revealed it as having been underestimated, revealed it as being the specific size it actually is, which is significantly larger than the size that was assigned to it. The revelation is the corrected estimate, the honest, now I understand what this actually is, assessment of what exists between you and what you are to them, and what the feeling they managed as manageable actually measures when it is measured accurately. It measures as something they cannot be without, as something the absence of which has changed the quality of their daily life in a way that is now undeniable, as something that deserves a different response than the one it received the first time, a response that is proportionate to its actual size rather than to the underestimated version. The return is the proportionate response. Let me tell you what the return is carrying, what this person is bringing back with them that they did not have or did not offer the first time. Honesty. First and most importantly, the specific, finally accurate, this is what is actually true honesty of someone who has done the work of correcting the misread and who is now prepared to represent what they feel at its accurate size rather than the managed, comfortable, smaller version. They are not returning with the same offering. The same offering produced the same result, and the same result was the gap, and the gap was educational, but it was not where they want to be. They are returning with the full version, with the real accounting, with the specific, here is what I actually feel, and here is what I now understand about what this is honesty. That was not available the first time because the understanding was not available the first time. The understanding is now available, produced by the interval, by the evidence of the absence, by the revelation of the corrected estimate, by all the days of living without you that built the case for returning with something more complete and more honest than what was offered before. They are also bringing humility, not the performed strategic humility of someone who has calculated that an apologetic approach will produce the desired outcome, the genuine kind, the specific, I was wrong about something important kind that costs a person something to arrive at and something to express. The kind that requires a person to sit with the awareness of their own error long enough that the sitting has actually changed something about how they see themselves and how they want to proceed. This person has been sitting with it, the awareness of the misread, the understanding of what it cost, the specific, honest acknowledgement that they had something real and that they did not honor it with the quality of presence and the quality of honesty it deserved. And the sitting has changed something, has produced a version of them that is more willing to be fully in something, less interested in managing the size of their own feeling to a comfortable level, more ready than they were the first time for what genuine connection actually requires. Let me speak to the revelations in the plural, because there are multiple things being revealed by this return, and each of them deserves its own honest description. The first revelation is about them, about the specific, this is what I am capable of quality of someone who has done the work of honest self examination in the interval and arrived on the other side of it, changed, more self aware, more honest about their own patterns and their own resistances and their own tendencies toward underestimating the things that matter most, more equipped because of that awareness to do this differently, to show up more fully, to be less defended and more present and more willing to let what exists between you be as large as it actually is rather than the managed, comfortable version. The second revelation is about what existed between you the first time, what it actually was. Because from within it, from the inside of something that was developing, without either of you having the full picture of what you were developing, the full nature of it was not completely visible. The interval has provided perspective, the specific, only available from the outside quality of understanding that the gap created. And what the perspective reveals is that what was there was more significant than it was treated as in the moment. Both of you were in something more real than the response it received. The first time produced an outcome that was not proportionate to the quality of what was between you, not because either of you was malicious, because neither of you had the full picture yet. The return is the first time that begins with the full picture in hand. The third revelation is about what is possible, about the specific, now that both of us know, quality of what becomes available when two people who have been through something through the first time, and the gap, and the interval's education, and the correction of the misread come back to each other with the understanding they now have, and the possibility is different from the first time. More grounded, more honest, more capable of depth because both people are more capable of the honesty that depth requires than they were before. I want to speak to your side of this, to where you are in your own experience as you feel this return approaching. You have been doing your own work in the interval, and not necessarily in a deliberate, I am going to use this time productively way. In the natural, this is what life does when you continue to live it way of someone whose forward motion has continued regardless of the unresolved thing in the background. You have grown, not in a way that required the gap. Growth does not require loss, but in a way that has been shaped by the experience of being in the gap and maintaining yourself through it with the specific Virgo quality of continuing to be fully yourself, even when something connected to you is temporarily unresolved. The version of you who receives this return is not the same version who experienced what preceded it. You are more certain of your own worth, more clear about what you will and will not accept, more honest with yourself about what you actually want as opposed to what you are willing to settle for. The interval has produced that clarity the same way it produced clarity in them through the evidence of experience, through the daily concrete knowledge of what your life feels like with and without this particular quality of connection in it. What do you find when you consult that clarity honestly? Not what you think you should find or what would be easiest to find. What actually lives in you when you set aside the protective management and simply ask the honest question? I am seeing warmth still underneath the appropriate caution, underneath the reasonable self-protection, underneath the very understandable hesitation of someone who has been through the first version of this and who is aware that the second version will require something from them and that the something should not be offered casually. Underneath all of that warmth, real and specific and pointing in the same direction it has been pointing since before the gap made it necessary to manage. That warmth is information, treated as such. What does wisdom look like in receiving this return? What does the most honest and most self-respecting version of being open to this look like in practice? It looks like being present without being immediate, not making this person work for no reason that serves no one, and Virgo does not deal in punitive dynamics. But not rushing to restore the previous configuration before the new one has been established. Being genuinely here and genuinely available and genuinely open, while also being genuinely clear about what you need the return to include and demonstrate over time. What you need is the demonstration that the understanding is real, that the revelation has actually changed something and not merely produced a temporary shift in behavior that will relax back into the original pattern once the urgency of the return has faded. The demonstration comes through time and through consistency and through the quality of showing up that continues after the immediate, I have returned and I am trying period has passed and the ordinary texture of daily connection has resumed. You are allowed to watch for that demonstration, not suspiciously with the calm, grounded Virgo attention of someone who knows what they deserve and who is willing to give something genuine time to show itself as genuine. With the specific quality of receiving warmly while also receiving clearly, of being open while also being honest about what openness in this specific case requires. Real returns can sustain that quality of reception, actually can, not just tolerating it, but welcoming it. Because a person who has genuinely done the work of understanding what went wrong the first time welcomes the opportunity to demonstrate that the understanding is real, does not bristle at being asked to show rather than just tell, does not treat the reasonable expectation of demonstration as an unfair burden. Watch for how they receive your clarity. It will tell you everything. Let me close with what these cards are showing me about the longer shape of what this return is building toward and the trajectory of it. What I see is a second chapter, not a rerun of the first, a genuinely new chapter built on the foundation of everything both versions of this connection have produced. On the first time and its genuine beauty and its genuine insufficiency, on the gap and what it cost and what it taught, on the return and the revelation and the changed versions of two people who now know each other and themselves more completely than they did when the story began. Second chapters that begin this way, with genuine learning, with real accountability, with the specific worked through understanding that this one is carrying into the return, as have a different quality from the ones that simply restart from the beginning without acknowledging what came before. They have depth, the specific we have been through something together depth that can only be built through the going through, that cannot be manufactured or shortcut or arrived at without the price of the interval's education. You have both paid that price. And what the price purchased is the possibility of something better than what was there before. Not perfect. Nothing is perfect. And the expectation of perfection is the enemy of the real. But better, more honest, more grounded, more capable of the depth and the full presence and the complete honesty that what exists between you has always deserved and is now being offered. The return is real. The reason is genuine. The revelation has changed something. And what is coming toward you carries the specific, hard-won, I now understand quality of someone who has been educated by your absence in the most thorough and most convincing way available. Let the return come. Receive it with your eyes open. Let what is real prove itself through time and through consistency. And let yourself hope, not recklessly, with the specific, grounded, this feeling is information hope of someone whose warmth is still present and whose clarity is sharper than it has ever been. Both things can be true simultaneously. Both things are true. Tell me in the comments, do you feel this coming? The specific quality of something that left and is now turning back? Drop revelation if this reading found you somewhere real and specific today. Tell me if you have been feeling the energy of this person in a way that is different from the ambient, they are simply in my past quality of someone who is genuinely gone. Tell me if something has been shifting, if the sense of something unfinished has been becoming more rather than less present recently.